Welcome back to Human Factors Technology. Now, most of you who follow anything about me personally know that I'm a big runner. What you might not know is that I didn't get into running until about my mid 20s. You see, sure, I was running on my own, 5, 10, 15 miles here or there, but the fact of the matter is I didn't get bitten by the running bug until I moved back here to Atlanta and got plugged into what is pretty much the Atlanta running community. Today, we're going to be talking about how technology plays a really big part in connecting runners across the country and turns what is largely a solo sport into a global community. Now, in particular, we're talking about how the Atlanta Track Club is growing the sport through innovative outreach and programs. It's the second largest running community in, I think, the United States, if not the world. To help us, Natalie Cabanas, the head of marketing and technology for the ATC, joined me for an interview. And what I love about Natalie's approach is that even though the ATC is not necessarily a technology company, it's not a big data company, it's not, a huge organization. It's taken some pretty serious steps using data, insights, CRM to enable races that really have become marquee events here in Atlanta. If you've ever been to the Peachtree Road Race or the Atlanta Thanksgiving Half Marathon or any coordinated race, you'll know how you show up as thousands of individual runners, but you seem to be woven together by that community. And there are all of these pieces of technology that get you really excited to be there. It's technology that's ultimately used to help promote healthier communities. And really, what's more human than that? So I'll catch you on the other side of the interview, but really hope you enjoy it because I really did as well. And I will catch you on the other side of the interview. Natalie, thank you so much for taking the time. Do you want to introduce yourself, the ATC, and the mission?
Sure. So thanks for having me here today. My name is Natalie Cabanas. I am the Director of Marketing and Communications at Atlanta Track Club. Atlanta Track Club is the second largest running organization in the United States. We are a nonprofit. We are member-based. We currently have 36,000 members, which is incredible because it's the most Atlanta Track Club members we've had since we began 60 years ago. It is our 60th anniversary this year, which is also exciting. We have a mission and vision to create an active and healthy Atlanta through running and walking. And we want to continue to motivate, inspire, and engage our community in just a healthier lifestyle.
So first of all, congratulations not only on the 60th anniversary, but a successful running of the 55th annual Peachtree Road Race. This one was a little bit of a challenge, I can imagine.
Yeah, definitely. For those that either were there or heard, it was a hot one, which is to be expected on July 4th in Atlanta. But nevertheless, we did what we could to keep everybody safe and hydrated. And despite the fact we had to cancel it towards the end because of the extreme heat, we still welcomed, the majority of the people through the finish line as we continued to give them, food and fluids. And interestingly enough, despite, again, us having to cancel because of how hot it was, we saw less medical cases than we did in the past. And even on race day, we always keep track of what the starting temperature is for the day. And it wasn't even one of the hottest that we've seen in previous years. Yeah. So, essentially because on July 4th, we didn't have that cloud cover at all. When people crossed the finish line and made their way through Piedmont Park, it's just when you get to be stagnant that was causing the issue. So I can tell you already that we're looking into what we can do in the future to continue to keep people cool as soon as they cross that finish line, because it is a tradition. It's a deep Atlanta tradition. As you said, it's been going on for 55 years and we have no plans to take it away from July 4th. Yeah. So if anything, we're just looking into what we can do more to keep people cool and keep people safe.
I think that one of the most important things about at least running the world's largest 10K or running the organization around the 10K is the health and safety of the participants. Now, this podcast is all about human factors. It's about dealing with human behavior. And one of the big human behaviors around running is that we run to get away from our devices. As much as we love tech, we run to get away from our devices. And during a huge event like the Peachtree Road Race, can you talk a little bit about your communication strategies, some of the technologies that you employ to keep people safe and to communicate the instructions during the race? And how do you deal with that in an environment where people might not have their mobile phones?
Yeah, super interesting and definitely a lot to unpack there. So I'll speak specifically to race day. Interestingly enough, even though we like to think that people might not be on their phones or, some runners don't bring their phones with them, I will tell you that more people are carrying them than you would think. So with that, we realized that a phone is the way that we could communicate with people the quickest.
Yep.
So I'll start there and kind of backtrack to if people aren't carrying their phones, how we communicate. So if somebody is carrying their phone, really, really cool this year, we, for the first time, have an Atlanta Track Club app that allows you to view your results. And for the first time ever at the Peachtree, we had more timing mats, keeping track of people along the way. So in the past, we've only had a case split. So if somebody was tracking a family member, they could only see them halfway. Where this year, a family member could track somebody mile 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in that case, if you're a family member trying to track somebody, it's nice to actually have a clearer view of exactly where somebody is. As far as us communicating with participants, through that app, we do have push notifications. So that's one way that we communicate. Another way we communicate, especially in this case, is via text message. So we have a program known as Everbridge. And essentially, if there's ever something that goes on at a race, example, we had to cancel, we immediately send a text message to every one of our participants. So, and then kind of with that, how did we get to that point where we did cancel the race? We have a way that we communicate about the condition of the race. So it's an emergency alert system. And this was something that was implemented, I want to say probably 6 or 7 years back. And it's something that's actually used, nationwide at other races. And so you've got different colors and different flags that signify, how the participant should approach the race. So typically, and for as long as I have been here for 8 years, we've started the Peachtree in what we say is a yellow flag. So instead of, you start with green, everything's good, everything's fine, proceed as you would. Yellow is, hey, it's a little hot out there and make sure that you proceed with caution. Red is, you have to make sure that you slow down. And then black is we're canceling and we're not coming back. So essentially on July 4th this year, we went to black flag and we canceled the race. So we have signs of what that event alert system is all throughout the course on race day. So as soon as you get there, you will see like that color green, right? If that changes, we have those flags available, and essentially it's a volunteer's job on race day to switch those. So as people are going through the race, they can see that. In addition, we have MCs at the start line, at the finish line, and then there's people along the course as well that either have a sound system, in this case, Peachtree, there's people playing music, there's DJs, but we are, communicating also to all of our volunteers via radio. So, we have volunteer leaders along the course that are in charge of our hydration stations. And so we are constantly communicating, over the radio, hey, the race has moved from yellow to red. Make sure that you make an announcement. So then from there, people are making announcements. And again, as you're running a race, especially like the Peachtree, there's so much noise and excitement that announcements are great, but that's why we also really try to hit communication from all fronts, because heaven forbid somebody's, rocking out and like enjoying the music and they miss the announcement. So then we hope they see their text message. Again, just trying to hit it from all fronts. And then in addition to that, on race day for Peachtree, we had a live broadcast via the AJC or Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And so like externally on top of that, we are communicating to that team saying, hey, you need to make an announcement. We've also moved from this to that. And so they were also communicating externally. Again, there's a chance that a participant could be talking to somebody on their phone and then their family member could tell them. So as you know, like in this day and age, there's so many ways that you communicate and we try to just hit it from all fronts.
Yeah, but I definitely can tell you as a participant, not only the Everbridge integration, but also the live tracking was huge because as a part of the running community, some of my friends are able to run the race, some of them aren't. And it's constantly a guessing game of when is someone going to be at a certain mile marker so that you can be out there and cheering for them. And the fact that you guys had multiple timing mats out this year made it a lot easier. Now, let's talk a
Yeah,
little bit about, go ahead, keep going.
it was so excited and
Yeah.
exciting, and especially because of this particular app. What you could do is, say, for me, I was at the finish line and I was tracking, we'll call it, some of the bigger names. So one of our favorite participants is Betty Lindbergh, who is 99 years
Yeah.
old, and so I made sure I was tracking her, and it would give me her estimated finish time and time of day. So I knew at 10:05, around that time, based on her pace,
Yeah.
Betty was going to come across the finish line. So we were ready with a photographer to capture that moment. And just to your point, yeah, you have a better idea of, okay, they're going to be at mile 5 at this point, and so I know that I need to be here and to see them. And it's just, yeah, just such a better way to have a real snapshot of when somebody's coming along, instead of like guessing, halfway through, and then finish line, bam, they're there. So
Great. So let's talk a little bit more about the app because this year you guys switched over to Let's Do This. Can you talk a little bit about, I'm assuming that's the app, or we'll figure out what that is. So this year you switched over to a new app. Obviously, the ATC has been on a journey of evolution, helping to organize the running community, particularly with transformation of the pandemic. Can you talk a little bit about what went into the selection of this new infrastructure and how the ATC's technology strategy has maybe led to this point in time?
yeah, sure. So, yeah, so crazy. So much to unpack, but let's see if we can divide it
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
So, first, just to clarify, so in previous years, or before we switched to the Let's Do This registration platform, which is actually London based, we work with a registration platform called Haku, and they are based in Miami. So the app now that we are using is through MyLapse technology. And then now we do our timing through the Last Mile Racing. So
Okay.
MyLapse and the Last Mile Racing is actually the same company and the same technology that is used with the Boston Athletic Association, the Boston Marathon, the New York Road Runners, New York City Marathon. So just to clarify there, the app is actually through MyLapse, and specifically through MyLapse and
Okay.
RTRT. So just to clarify there, but I think really probably most interesting to you is a little bit more about the transition to Let's Do This, kind
Yeah.
of how things have changed through the pandemic. Yeah, I would say, again, I've been with the track club going on 8 years. So I've seen the transition from ChronoTrack registration platform to Haku, and then now to Let's Do This. And I would really say, through the pandemic, like any other industry, like any other company, we really had to just reevaluate what we were doing in general, because it is our job to bring people together, but we couldn't do that like during the pandemic. So really, technology wise, we had to take a hard step back, and we, crazy as it sounds, dabbled in more of just content creation, because we knew that people were just doing everything virtually. And so being in the marketing department, we created this brand new website, and we're actually teaching fitness classes via YouTube. And we were just trying to provide value to people and really be seen as a leader in the running and walking fitness industry by, again, providing something to our participants, because we hadn't really gotten into or even set up our races to go virtually. So that was for a period
Mhm.
of time. Then we realized, hey, yeah, we have to figure out how to, continue to register people, use technology, and then how are we interacting with people and still making these events valuable through virtual races. So, through the pandemic, we continued to put on races. So we're still using the registration platform, and we did so by, spacing people apart, making our races longer. But in addition to that, we really had to figure out a way, especially for the Peachtree, if you want to talk about that for a second, is we spent a lot of time preparing like virtual packets for people. So we learned about like a lot more about mailing addresses versus shipping addresses, like really having to dig into data and making sure that we could work really well with the post office to ship off upwards of 40,000 packets to people. But from there, as people were coming back from the pandemic, and we were getting deeper into our Haku relationship, we were looking at really expanding their platform. They, were so great to work with us because we do so many different things other than just registering for events, that we started to pull our web store and all of our merchandise on the Haku platform. We were doing all of our email marketing. So it was for the first time that we were actually able to use a CRM, which was great because in the past, all of our data that we had essentially was in different places. So it was a really big challenge for us because, we wanted to have like a clear snapshot view of like, say, if you have one participant or one Atlanta Chat Club member, what are they truly doing? And how much money are they spending? How many dollars are they donating? How long have they been with us? And really the Haku platform was the first time that we were ever able to see that and see everything all just in one place. We called it like a singular customer view. And in that case, it helped us to really deliver I would say, like the highest customer service experience that we ever had in the past, right? Because we could look up your profile, Jared, and we could say, okay, well, I see you ran Peachtree for the last, 3 years. You're, a Peachtree veteran. And so it could really educate the conversations that our customer service manager was having at the front desk because the technology provided that, right? So another huge thing I think for us was that we realized that over time, we believe in bringing people together. And that means that when people are registering more than one person at the same time. And I think that's really been a trend that we've seen. And ultimately, I believe one of the reasons why we move over to Let's Do This is because over the years, I'll use Peachtree again for an example. The Peachtree registration has been very, very long. Well, we know that people's attention span is getting shorter and shorter, right? So we've constantly, over the years, looked at that. How long does it take somebody to register for Peachtree? What can we take out? How can we make it easier? Doing different testing on desktop versus mobile. Where are most of our registrations coming through? And ultimately, we've seen that more and more are coming on mobile. And so, where some websites are optimized more for desktop, and that's truly what Haku was made for, Let's Do This is more optimized for mobile. And so, we were really attracted to the idea of making things a lot easier to register multiple people. Again, going back to bringing people together. People want to register their whole family at once for Peachtree. People want to register their friends, their cousins. And so Let's Do This really allows that capability to make that a little bit easier to have more and more registrations. So over the years, it's been shortening registrations. It's, how do we make it easier to register more than one person? And then the other really, really big piece for us has been Atlanta Chat Club membership and the option to actually have renewals. So where once for Atlanta Chat Club membership, we had to market to each person over and over again. So our membership is annual. And so somebody would sign up for Atlanta Chat Club membership, be a member for a year, and then it would come to a point in the fall where we would have to go back to those, at that time, 20,000 members and say, hey, you have to re-register, which is very frustrating. So we were super thankful when we came on with Haku. They came up with this option to be able to auto renew. So that was really, really big for us because, just like anything else in this day and age, people are typically on a monthly membership, while ours is annual. And so that allowed us, a lot more time not having to remarket to this large group of people and hoping that we were going to get everybody back. Now people can choose, check auto renew where you're set to go for the next year. You can always opt out of it if you do not want to renew. And so that's been really a game changer for us and well in the technology space.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about something you just mentioned, which is making it easier, because I can imagine that, ATC is a volunteer-based organization. And if I'm correct, you're one of the few full-time individuals, right? So you rely on a lot of volunteer help. So I can imagine that part of the calculus was find something that requires less back-end Talk to us a little bit about the job behind the scenes of integrating and managing these things and how maybe this shift to this new platform is helping lighten the load.
Yeah, so I'd say it's been one of the biggest challenges that we've had and continue to have is just that our data does live in various places. For
Mm-hmm.
instance, our volunteer base and our volunteer data is on a different platform. It does not sit within the Let's Do This platform. So, in our conversations with Let's Do This, we said, hey, we have this interest that in one day and age, we want those things to be together. It's just like, again, any other industry where you go and you find somebody that's really good in having a volunteer platform. So like we
Mm-hmm.
use Volunteer Local, right? And so when you go to a registration platform, let's do this, that specializes in event registrations, and you say to them, hey, now we want you to be really good at this thing. They say to us, and how they really built their business model is that they're more apt to do an integration. So that's something else that makes Let's Do This unique is that where Haku went and built like a web store or a place where you could sell merchandise, Let's Do This says, hey, we're not the best at that, but instead we will build you an integration into Shopify, which is really great at that. So again, just like thinking about infrastructure and like the big picture and strategy, it's just two different business models. And for us, it was Shopify was something that actually really did help us because, again, talking about data, our data used to live in two different places when we would sell on site at an event versus what we had on the web store. That was in two different places. So where we were doing a bunch of data management when you want to talk about the work that's done behind the scenes. So now everything lives on Shopify and it's a lot easier for our merchandise team because there's less of that data back and forth. And again, ultimately, one of the main reasons why we ended up with Let's Do This. So I guess going back to your question, there is some work that we're still doing manually for sure, but I would say it has minimized. Let's Do This also has this separate platform known as Looker, which is very powerful when it comes to looking at data analytics. And so all of the stuff that like we're interested in looking at, that system kind of does that for us. So again, we get as granular as possible because as we continue to grow, we need to see different trends to understand, different moves that we need to make. So again, we are still doing some of that data digging, but I would say that more and more we're trying to do less of that and like let the technology truly speak for itself. Because as you said, there's only 30 of us, less than 30 of us. And we put on 50 plus events and programs throughout the year, not just the Peachtree. People don't realize that. So yeah, there's only so many hours in a day.
Great. Now, Looker is a really interesting topic because I think Looker is one of the Google-based platforms that I think has become most popular in this day and age, particularly when you look at like the Tableaus of the world. It's great, it's powerful, but Looker has really made data accessible. Can you talk a little bit about maybe one or two really amazing insights that you've been able to gather from your data that has changed the way that you approach marketing or outreach within the ATC?
Yeah, I would say something new that we did during Peachtree was did a better job of tracking our marketing efforts. And so we worked with a handful of influencers, we'll call them social media influencers in the space, and we provided them with tracking links. So we'll call it a UTM registration tracking link. And we said, hey, we want you to organically tell your experience about the Peachtree and encourage other people, goes back to that bringing people together, encourage other people to race with you on race day. So through a period of the registration period was from March until mid-June, we were able to look at those people's links and see exactly how many conversions or how many people actually came from them. So that was something brand new for us that we had never done before. And I think it just really speaks to also just the power of people's individual storytelling, right? Like, and how powerful running truly can be because it's simply people just talking about how much fun they were having. So that was really cool because that told us, hey, we're not spending marketing dollars on ads, or not as many marketing dollars on ads. It was like, hey, go to the people that love the race, support them, encourage them, and they're your third party credibility. And we spent more effort than we ever have, again, with influencers, because we saw such a success right there. And I guess
Great.
part of that is, over the years, we've seen historic, Peachtree is a deep tradition in the city of Atlanta. And historically, the race has skewed average age wise a little bit older. And so, as we think about the future of the running industry, we've been spending more time trying to reach a younger audience, knowing that our younger audience is on social media. The other really, really cool insight is we realize the longer we leave registration open, so the closer it is to race day, we saw that the age of people registering went from older early on because they plan ahead, and it skewed younger and younger and younger as time went on. And it was just so incredible just to see that graph. We kind of already knew that, again, talking about COVID and how trends have changed and people's behavior has changed. People are just waiting more to the last minute to do things. And so this was the longest registration period in the history of Peachtree, because again, we saw that people still have an interest in registering for the race literally the day before. So if you talk about pre-pandemic, the registration for Peachtree used to be only 8 days. Times have changed. We've had to change with the times. And so being able to see the data, and we knew that if we left it open longer, that more people would continue to register. And that's exactly what we saw.
That is a fabulous insight, because there's nothing like going up Cardiac Hill, having prepared for weeks or months beforehand, and then some 20-year-old passes you saying, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. I registered yesterday for this. It's a little bit. So, something I'd like to ask everybody is, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to laugh and say, I think we registered upwards of 800 people at the expo this year. I mean, it was crazy.
Wow. That is incredible.
Yeah.
And the expo, I got to say, the expo has become a really interesting experience. I mean, the merchandise that's available, just the seamlessness. I mean, you've got to so how many people ran the Peachtree this year?
So we had over 50,000 registered, and we had a little over 44,000 that showed up on race day.
Oh, wow. So you've got to get all of those folks scanned in with their bibs and ready to go through the expo. And that's just it's masterful throughput. So something that I like to ask everybody is, what's your favorite tech? And in this particular case, what's some of your favorite running tech that you're currently using right now?
Yeah. So for me, I'd say I'm a huge Apple Watch girl. Yeah. So I've always had not always, but ever since wearable technology has come out, I have just been completely obsessed with having something on me at all times, because I use it as a motivator during the day to get up, get moving. I am a director, so I sit through a lot of meetings, and, when my watch dings and tells me I need to stand, I'm up out of this chair. And I luckily work in a place where that's encouraged. We take walking meetings. And so, yeah, I'm all about the wearable. I, again, have an Apple Watch. In addition to that, I'd say I've dabbled in different running apps over the years. Now that Adidas is our official apparel and footwear sponsor, Adidas also has their own running app. So I trained for a marathon 2 years ago and used the Adidas running app for that. It was super helpful. It had a marathon training plan. It tracked all my runs. It had all my data, weekly, monthly, what my average pace was. And it also gave me or suggested what my run should be all throughout that training program. And then in addition to that, I'm training for another marathon right now, the Honolulu Marathon. And I signed up for our in training for fall marathons program. And we use what's called Final Surge. So I'm just starting to dabble in that, but that's essentially the tech that we use to assign training programs, to track runs. You can connect your wearable to Final Surge. So I can already see what I've been doing in there, and it gives me, again, the data to inform my decisions. So for me, the more data, the better. Because again, I just think you can learn so much from it. And sometimes I think people are so hard on themselves, especially with marathon training. They're like, oh, I haven't been doing this or I haven't been doing that. And then if you go back and just look at all you've accomplished, it's like, wait a minute, I've done so much. So data and tracking to me, even just in my own personal life, I like track everything. So yeah, for me, all about the data.
Yeah, it's a huge motivator. All right, so let's just kind of wrap up with when you're looking at the horizon of either the ATC or in technology in general, what are some of the gaps that you see that you'd like to see filled? What are some of the ways that you would like to see technology improved, either to improve your own life or to improve the overall mission of the ATC?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say the first thing that we've thought about, well, two things. I'll say two things. One thing that we've talked about and thought a lot about over the years that we're slowly getting better at is tracking the effect that we have on the Atlanta community. So, we have our finisher data, we have our registration data. We have never figured out the best way to show how many steps someone is taking, or, how we improve somebody's blood pressure, or how we change someone's life because they went from a walker to a runner and now they've done 10 marathons. So, we've talked about in the past how to take, like, essentially almost create or take data from a wearable and like only from our events, and then put that into something that could show the long-term effects of somebody being an Atlanta Track Club member, if that makes sense. So this really came up when we talked about our youth programming and our youth programs, because we have a Kilometer Kids program that somebody could start as a kid, and then they could, over the years, attend our events, be a part of our youth teams, run in high school, run in college, and come back, or even, go on to be a professional. And so we've started to track more on the kids side, the effect, and we've created a youth impact report that really speaks to exactly, what I'm saying. But I think, I would love to see us do that on a broader sense, especially to show the impact, even just of Peachtree, because we've been around for 60 years. Like I said, we do 50 plus events and programs throughout the year, including multiple training programs. So we know for a fact that our mission is to get people active and healthy, and we're doing that. But it would be really amazing to just have that tangible piece to say, hey, we changed, 35,000 people's lives, which again, we know that we are, but to see that data wise could be so impactful. And then the second thing I was going to say is, one of the other main reasons why we transitioned to Let's Do This was because they sold us on this idea of more of a social community. They have their own app. So the Let's Do This event app, where, you can comment on different people's races. You can take a selfie of yourself there. You can, very much like social media, comment, emoji, like people's races. And, we're still learning the tech. And so we haven't really encouraged our participants to start using that. But I do think that we want to get to that point, because over the years, people have said, why don't you have an Atlanta Track Club app that does just that? Right. So we have our results app, which is great now, which is leaps and bounds from where we were before. But I would love to see the community really, embrace also this social media trends that we're in, and somehow take advantage of that side of the Let's Do This platform.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. This has been really insightful, really wonderful. And, I would love personally someday to see the correlation of data between the amazing work the ATC is doing and the health and overall well-being of Atlanta, because the running community is just, it's unmatched, in my opinion. You can look at Boston, you can look at DC, you can look at any of these running communities. But I think that Atlanta, we've got something special going on, and that's in no small part to what you guys do at the ATC. Thank you so much for taking the time, Natalie.
We really appreciate that.
Absolutely. So you can find more information about the Atlanta Track Club at atlantatrackclub.org, I believe.
Yes, that is true.
All right. Thank you so much, Natalie, and we will catch you later. Once again, I want to say thank you to Natalie for joining me for a really great interview. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for some additional episodes that are going to be coming out fast and furious. I'm going to the International Manufacturing Technology Show next week, and so that'll be extremely exciting, and I hope you will join us. As always, comments, questions, ideas for shows, please reach out to me at hello@humanfactorstech.com. That's hello@humanfactorstech.com. Until next time, stay human, stay curious, and I will catch you guys in the next episode.